Hey everyone. Um, so before I get into this, I just want to make something really clear. This video is going to be about why some players are burnt out, the disconnect between story, PvP, and progression. So just want to make this clear. I'm a sandbox player, okay? I come from an old SSO era where things moved slowly. I'm talking real time progression, like tuning exams once a year, getting exams every 3 to 4 months, and maybe one new jutsu every single year if you were lucky. We're talking OOC years, by the way. There was no structured arcs or events. The only story came from vague text box teasers that basically were OC in OC chat between two NPCs that the admin himself controlled, right? And he was role playing as. That was basically the norm. We just existed in the world and it stayed still until we moved it. So like there's nothing to do. I used to think, okay, they're crazy. Like, but recently I've been listening to them more and more and asking questions. And I've been watching more closely. And now I think I really kind of understand the disconnect. And a lot of this has come because, what happened recently to me. And I just started asking, why is it that it seems like this is enjoyable or like these kind of things are enjoyable? These kind of events, self-made stuff or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so let's get to it, right? So there's two types of players. At the core of this whole issue, there are two different types of players, all right? There are sandbox players like me who are perfectly happy building their own narrative. We farm, we train, we role play, we get stronger at our own pace. If nothing's happening, that's cool. That's more time for us to prepare. Or, we don't need constant direction or whatever. We can go deal with Suna at our own pace. They're right there when we're ready to go. Like we're like, oh, I want to do some real stuff now. I'll go deal with Suna. Like that's our mindset, right? But then there are people like they're reactive role players, and these aren't like a small minority. Like I believe probably it's at least maybe 40%, somewhere 30 to 40% of players are reactive role players, I think, or reactive players. And they want to feel as the world is alive and moving around them. They want the game to respond, not wait. They don't want to be the ones who have to build the train tracks. They don't want to see the train. They want to be able to see the train coming and decide if they want to hop on or hop off. Like when the world doesn't move, or unless they push it, that's when they get burnout. Like that's when they're like, oh, I'm disinterested with the game, right? Good example of this is the Makoto mission from early wipe. We got this. The dude comes up. He's like, "Hey, you gotta, guys, you have to come help me fight a fucking Biju. If you don't, this shit can destroy the world." It's like, all right, well, we don't have a choice, and they love that kind of stuff. For me, I'm like, I don't want to be forced into this again. Like, what the fuck is this? And then like, but again, these are the options that exist for them, right? So again, is there really no story? And this is where the confusion sets in. Some players are saying that the story feels stagnant, like there's nothing really happening. But on paper, that's not really true. There's weekly missions. The Akatsuki is active. Suna exists and is literally waiting for us to engage them at any point in time. So why are certain people saying the story is dead? Because the signal isn't strong. One player says, it feels sometimes it feels like it swaps 1 minute and 1 minute it's stage stuff, next it's Suna, and then nothing, right? It doesn't feel like it's progressing. Others said, there's no story, there's just too many players just trying to create stuff, but it seems like the DM is kind of taken too far of a step back. The last part, though, is key. The idea that the DM is intentionally letting players drive the world. And for sandboxers like me, that's fine. We love that. That's freedom. But for reactive players, it feels like being the keys to the car with no map and no gas and no idea if the road even exists. So the combat wall, right? Let's stack this with another issue, right? We have combat narrative, we have combat basically gated stuff, right? So even if somebody wants to engage with a story, it's basically locked behind usually kind of, I'd say, C, maybe to B rank players or whatever. Obviously that's the average rank, but that's the point. The point is I'm just saying it's locked behind combat. One person basically kind of, stated, it feels like nothing really happens if nobody ever goes to suit up. We just sit here forever, nothing's gonna happen. And honestly, like they kind of might have a point with that. I mean, it's been a very long time. Soon as declared war on us, we've heard nothing. Nothing's happened. No reaction. No rumors. No nothing. Right? Everything is driven by combat, but it's really hard to get involved in the story if that's really not something you really just want to directly want to do. And I think there's also a perception that only certain types of players get to B rank or get past B rank, which makes the barrier feel even higher for other players. Even if you are B rank, you still might feel like there's just a perception that there's nothing to do there. So if you're not already strong or not part of some kind of core group, you've got NPCs, you've got NCs to funnel you, then you don't really want to solo grind like everything or whatever. And the story just doesn't feel accessible to you. So next thing, the temple loop, right? So let's talk about PvP. Let's talk about the temple loop. Temple PvP has basically become the go-to method for progress. It's fast, it's controlled, you can grind it repeatedly, but it's basically sort of kind of replacing the story at this point. Um, we're at a point now where players log in, they fight the temple, they rank up, they log out, right? The problem is it's basically at a point where it's rewarding players for ignoring the rest of the world. So my suggestion with that, honestly, is maybe there needs to be a cap on temple fights, like or a diminishing returns or something. Not as a punishment, but basically a nudge. Like just encourage people, hey, you know what? You need to go do some PvE shit. You need to get involved in the ongoing story arc or whatever's going on. Maybe even start like a new one or something. But basically make it so the most rewarding paths involve the most engaging with the world, not isolating from it. And then finally, the signal issue. Here's what it boils down to. The game needs better signaling. Back in the early days, like I said, we had NPCs who would walk in the village and announce major threats. Missions were clearly real, and players knew if they ignored them, the world would still. Like, players knew if they ignored them, the world would not move, right? Or the world would move or whatever. But uh, that's what that's sorry, the world would still move if they ignored it, right? But that's what reactive players want. They want to be pulled in, not have to pull everything out themselves. Today, players are unsure if missions matter. Is the Suna plot real? Will it move if we ignore it? Does anything happen if we don't engage? The answer might be yes, but if that answer isn't loud and visible, it might as well be a no for these players. Multiple players even say they're just resorting to just basically kind of going villain just to force the game to react to something. Not because they want to cause chaos, but because they just want something to happen. So I get it now, right? Sandbox players, we're okay with waiting. We don't need urgency. We enjoy roleplay for the sake of roleplay. But reactive players, they want that persona style feeling. Like time is passing, like choices matter, and the world is alive, whether or not they move. Now, personally, again, I hate persona. I hate it. I hate its time mechanics. I hate being forced to choose what I'm allowed to do, but I get it now. I finally understand why some players feel like they need structure and stakes in a world that moves. So what's the solution here? We need clear story signals. We got to make it obvious when content is real. Honestly, I hate to say it, but the Umbra thing where it was like, you need to go fight me now or I'm going to draw your XP and start killing people, we need more of that for these reactive players. Like, they need that to live and breathe, right? The narrative, it's got to diversify. Like, we need more, I don't know, we need more narrative, like more stronger narrative that's just being shoved down our throats, not it's here if you want to go involve yourself in the story. PvE, let's incentivize it maybe a little bit more than PvP is currently, and let players know their actions or their inactions, right, matter. Because right now, content does exist, but the thing is, there's people who don't see it, or they don't really understand how to reach it, or and honestly, they really may not feel it. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I kind of hope this video helps to maybe bridge the gap and explain to also the sandboxers like me, like what the hell's going on and why we keep hearing like some of the stuff like this over and over again. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop this. How the fuck do I stop this? Stop sharing. Oh God. Okay, stop recording. There we go.